This year at MUTV Sports, we decided to spice things up a little bit, dig deep, get you behind the scenes of your favorite team. So even though it's just September, we're going to be covering Marquette basketball, giving you the all-access pass all the way up until March Madness. This is our idea, and this is Marquette Basketball Weekly. Welcome to the first ever episode of Marquette Basketball Weekly. I'm your host, Brad Galli. Now you're probably asking yourself, what is this student station, MUTV, Marquette University Television, going to do from September to March covering a basketball team that doesn't start for a few months? Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take you behind the scenes to get into the access of your favorite players, Coach Buzz Williams, the assistant coaches, everyone behind the scenes that you don't know about, the dance team, the trainers. We're going to get into absolutely every aspect of Marquette basketball so that you, the fan, can get just that much closer to the team that you love and know. Now, this offseason, the team had a huge turnover in a roster that has just seen many changes. For a closer look, let's look at the roster of what it was back in March. Last season, the Golden Eagles saw a plethora of success. Against Missouri in the second round of the NCAA tournament, the team bowed out in an epic battle. James, McNeil, Matthews, and Burke all graduated, vacating 4 scholarships. On April 13th, sophomore Pat Hazel decided to transfer to Boston University after 2 years of never really emerging into the player most fans hoped he would be. Less than a month later, Canadian big man Liam McMorrow's career ended after medical issues continued to hinder him. Getting into the summer, the returning players are shown here. Bring in the new recruits, and Coach Buzz Williams had himself a full roster. And then the team announced Maurice Acker would be focusing on academics and would not return for his senior year. Less than 2 months later, one of the incoming 7, Brett Roseborough, decided to leave the team. 6 days later, Acker was back and bumped the roster back up to 13. Sound like a lot? There's a lot of new faces around the AL, and talent was certainly lost, but have no doubt that talent has also been brought in. Replacing Jarrell McNeil, Dominique James, and Wesley Matthews is no small order. Chris Gaulke now takes an in-depth look at how the Golden Eagles expect to replace 3 of the most prolific players the university has seen in quite some time.
The 2009-2010 Marquette basketball season will mark the beginning of a new era. Those familiar faces from the past years are gone and the new recruits are here. On the roster this year will be 6 newcomers to the team, 2 of whom have had previous college basketball experience. But before we get to the new additions, let's look back at what the Golden Eagles lost. The 2008-2009 basketball season brought an end to the careers of Dominique James, Jarrell McNeil, Wesley Matthews, and Dwight Burke. This combination of players currently sits 6th all-time in Marquette basketball history with 94 wins. They also each hold a place in the top 10 in games played. McNeil is first with 130 games, James is second with 129 games, Matthews is tied for third with 127 games, and Burke is 9th with 124 games played. This past season also saw some big numbers put up by these guys. 3 of them sit inside Marquette's top 10 in all-time leading scoring. Jerome McNeil passed George Thompson to become Marquette's all-time leading scorer with 1,985 points. Not far behind him sits Dominique James at 3rd all-time with 1,749 points, and at 8th all-time is Wesley Matthews with 1,673 points. McNeil, Matthews, and Burke all averaged career highs in scoring average last season as well, with McNeil averaging almost 20 points per game, Matthews a little over 18 points per game, and Burke almost 3 points per game. For their careers, McNeil averaged over 15 points per game. James averaged over 13, Matthews also averaged over 13, and Burke averaged around 1 point per game. A couple other notable figures from these guys is that McNeil currently is 1st all-time with 287 steals, and James is 2nd all-time with 632 assists. For the 08-09 season, the Golden Eagles averaged 78.3 points per game, and those 4 starters contributed an average of 51.9 points per game. That meant an average of just over 26 points per game came from the rest of the team, also noting that around 16 points per game came from returning starter Lazar Hayward. There's no doubt about it, replacing 4 players of that stature is not an easy task for Buzz Williams and his coaching staff. As the saying goes, out with the old and in with the new, and now is the time for these new players to make their mark on Marquette basketball history. Marquette has 6 new recruits coming in for the 2009-2010 basketball campaign. There are 4 freshmen and 2 transfers from junior colleges. The 4 freshmen are 6'6" forward Jaron Maiman, 6'7" forward Eric Williams, 7'2" center Yusafa Mbao, and 6'1" guard Junior Cadogan. It should be noted that on September 17, 2009, Junior Cadogan suffered an Achilles injury during conditioning, and he will more than likely miss the entire season. This is a tough loss for the Golden Eagles, as Cadogan was seen to be a potential impact player in his first season at Marquette. Two incoming recruits have previous college basketball experience. 6'3" guard Dwight Bikes has played 2 years at Indian Hills Community College, where he was a first-team NJCAA All-American selection last season. Bikes averaged over 17 points and 5 rebounds per game as a sophomore. He not only led his team in scoring, assists, and steals, but he started all 71 games of his career and reached double figures in scoring in 65 of those outings. Joining Bikes with previous college basketball experience is 6'2" guard Darius Johnson-Odom. Johnson-Odom was a first-team NJCAA All-American selection as a freshman at Hutchinson Community College. He averaged over 21 points and 5 rebounds per game. Johnson-Odom scored 20 or more points on 22 occasions, as well as scoring 30 or more on 3 occasions. It would be an understatement to say that Marquette will miss its seniors from last season, especially the big three in McNeil, Matthews, and James. However, the Golden Eagles have a great new group of recruits coming in as they look to turn some heads in the 2009-2010 basketball campaign. Reporting from the Al McGuire Center, Chris Gaulke, MUTV Sports.
Coming up after the break, Todd Warner talked with trainer Ernest Eugene about the injury heard around the world. Junior Cadogan out for the season with an Achilles injury. We'll have more coming up after the break. Plus, I sat down with Eric Williams to talk about a lot of things, including how he expects his freshman season to go. You don't want to miss this. Stick with Marquette Basketball Weekly.